is not in the, actually, there is a caller in the virtual room, but they left.
Okay. We'll
So
come back to
we'll
him.
come back to him.
Jason Wetton?
Here.
Ron Housen? Ann Carwick?
Here.
Alex Blue?
Here.
Richard Hawk? Jeff Wade?
Here.
Mario Rios? Any luck?
He told me he was gonna come.
There he is. There he is.
Mario Rios is here.
Thank you.
Any luck with that?
And no luck with Greg, but if I can get him come back in.
Okay. We'll put him pending.
We'd also like to note from city staff, Marianne Mendoza, Michael Gallardo, and Selena Perez, and from city council, Matthew Merchant and Lynn Salazar. Thanks. So on to item number 3, public hearing. Public hearing to give all interested persons the right to appear and be heard on a request by Don and Benz for a specific city council approved use permit to allow alcoholic beverage retail sales, no on-premises consumption, on property zone overlay district B3OD, located at 12510 Bandera Road, Suite 105.
Mr. Vice Chairman, if you can just note when you're opening the public hearing, please, the time.
Oh, yes, noted 7:02 p.m.
And nobody signed up to speak.
So we'll close the item.
Not for the public hearing.
Oh, okay.
And so we're closing at 7:02 as well?
Yes. And then at 7:03, I guess we'll open the open session, citizens to be heard.
So Greg has joined us in the virtual room. He's muted himself, but he is in attendance. Mr. Chairman, we do have one person that signed up for citizens to be heard, Mrs. Tammy Clinton.
Hello.
Hi, Greg, we hear you.
Hi, I'm Tammy Poynton with Helotes Country Club. It's 14687 Old Bandera Road, 78023. I just have a few items to bring. One would be the sewer smell that I've addressed numerous times to council. That is in Old Town Helotes. It is getting horrific. It starts about 7 p.m. This smell is bad. It's causing people to get nauseous. I'm losing business. I'm getting a headache if I'm working out there and I'm outside, but the sewer smell is horrible. I was advised by one of our customers to contact the Texas Commission of Environmental Quality, the Air Quality and Monitoring Division, and I have contacted them, and I'm waiting on a response to see if they can help me do something about this smell. But it's the old sewer system through Helotes is not sufficient, and the smell is bad. Another one was the food truck issue. I am still for the food truck issue and waiting on an answer. I've heard that it's possibly gonna, if they do get approved, to be closing at 10 or 11. Well, my business is like till 12 or 2, and the food trucks in a beer garden bar industry, it would be very helpful. It's better if people eat and drink at the same time, and people that leave floors, if they were available at my business. I have plenty of space to have food trucks. They'd be safe, they wouldn't be obtrusive. And I would really, really like to put in that I would like to be able to have food trucks again. The lights in Old Town Helotes by the new bridge, I love the walkway. There is no light. If you stand at my business, if you look towards floors, it is like a dark hole. And on concert nights, super dangerous. Not joking. If somebody would go by there at 10, 11 o'clock at night and stand at my business and look towards floors, there is no lighting over that bridge, and people do not use the walking bridge because it is so dark. Another one is the signage in Old Town Helotes. That is to point people back to Old Town Helotes. They're beautiful signs, but they run horizontal with the road. So if you're driving by, you don't see them. You have to turn and look. They need to be perpendicular. So when people are driving, they can see the signage. I would appreciate that to Old Town, so it would bring more business into Old Town. But that was my 4 issues, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So if there are no more citizens to be heard, we can move on to item number 5, discussion and action on the election of commission officers to include the following: chairman, vice chairman, and secretary. think for some new folks, I don't think we've done this in quite some time. I think I've only done it once in my tenure on the board, but I guess it's up to us to nominate chairman, vice chairman, and secretary. So I guess we open the floor to discussion and nominations.
I would like to nominate Greg Michelle for chairman.
Second that nomination.
Michelle?
I concur.
Yes, I.
If he's game, I'll get that signal for him.
Mr. Hauser, do you have a nomination for each of them? It might be more efficient if you set the nomination for all three and then see if everyone concurs, as opposed to doing it individually.
Okay. Okay. Well, okay.
I see what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Vice Chair.
Vice Chair, we like to nominate Jason Whitman.
Okay, and for secretary, I nominate Ron Huzza.
I think will there need to be a second?
I think we should do chairman and vice chairman together
Okay.
and let Ron do the nomination, and then whoever did the second, and then we can do the secretary separately.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
So
All in favor?
Right.
Aye.
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 Any nays?
That makes the motion carries. And is there a
Okay.
nomination for secretary?
And I nominate Ron Huzza for secretary.
I will second that nomination. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries as well.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
It was a hard campaign.
So on to item number 6, discussion of an action on the minutes of the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission dated June 1st, 2021. I believe there was one clerical issue about attendance.
Oh, yes, so for Ann Caraway, it had teleconference, and I was actually present live and in person. Thank you.
Any other discussion or motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Actually, can we amend, I guess we need to amend that though to approve as
Approve with corrections.
corrections. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who's second?
I did.
All opposed? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, on to item number 7, discussion of an action on a request by Don and Ben's for a specific city council approval use permit to allow alcoholic beverage retail sales, no on-premises consumption, on properties in an overlay district B3-OD located at 12510 Bandera Road, Suite 105, Helotes, Texas, in the Helotes Point Retail Center, and identified as BCAT property ID 1308637. So I open the floor to discussion, or actually would the staff have any further information? Or
No, I have no further follow-up. Mary?
No.
any questions or concerns by the board?
Mr. Chair, question here. So is there anybody representing tonight from the establishment to speak?
They are here, Mr. Rios. In case you guys have questions, we can call them up.
Thank you for that support. And the question here that I have is just basically, are we just voting on allowing the business to happen but no signage tonight? Just, is that what it is?
That is correct. That development has a master sign plan in place.
Okay.
I do have one question. Is it, do you want to step up or? Sure.
Hi, Roxanne Petrie. I'm the assistant controller at Duns & Benz.
Hi, Roxanne. I just wanted to know what the hours and the days that it is going to be open would be.
It's pursuant to the Texas law, Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay, so it's gonna be closed on Sunday.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I have a question. My question is this a place, this location, you targeted this location, even though we know that you share that area with other businesses in that little strip, including, I believe is it a daycare or some type of children's area there? I need to double check my thoughts there, but is that a place that you've targeted, that you wanted to be there, and why there?
Just the easy access for our customers to be able to get in, get out, and convenience.
Don's and Ben's has a location. What's the nearest location to this area, besides if you were to choose get here?
The nearest one would be, we have one on Tezel Road, and what would be closer? Tezel?
That's the closest one.
Yeah, Tezel Road would be the closest.
The
Yes.
closest one.
Just curious why you picked the Helotes community, that's all. Just trying to get a feel there. But
We're just trying to expand into, locations that we feel we can serve the community, and we're very excited to become a part of it.
very nice. And you guys have been in San Antonio for quite some time now.
Yes, it's the early 40s.
Very nice.
Any further questions or discussion?
I have no other questions.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We'll open the floor to a motion.
My only thought is just real quickly, just want to say that I would support this because of the fact that I feel like it's a business that is not as prominent in this area as others. So that's why, Mr. Chair, I would support this, and I would open I would make a motion in support of this.
Is there a second?
I can read the.
Okay. We'll check with any further discussion. Yeah.
A request by Don's and Ben's for specific city council approval use permit to allow alcoholic beverage retail sales, no on-premises consumption on property zone overlay district B3OD located at 12510 Bandera Road, Suite 105, Helotes, Texas 78023, and the Helotes Point Retail Center, and identified as BCAT property ID number 1308637. Recommend to approve.
It's for even a second, yes. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So motion carries. So on to item number 8, discussion of an action on a request by Tammy Poynton for approval of a variance to Municipal Code Ordinances Chapter 66 signs, authorizing the use of a custom wooden LED bulb sign as a creative sign through section 98-72 Old Town Helotes Special District, subparagraph 7, creative sign review for Helotes Country Club located at 14687 Old Bandera Road. Is anyone from the applicant here tonight?
Yes, Tammy Clinton, front row.
Does staff have anything further to add to this item?
Nothing further back.
Mr. Chair, could we have the representative come to the mic? I have a question. Hello, Tammy. Thanks for being here today.
Sure.
Just a question, is this what you were referring to in the citizens to be heard? And from what I understand, citizens to be heard, I believe we're not able to comment on everything that was said, but I think one of the items you mentioned was is this related to the lighting?
No, not at all. No,
Okay.
this is the beer garden that's behind the Helotes Country Club. It's
Yes.
to signage so they know the beer garden's back there. I'm talking about the bridge on Old Town Helotes Road.
A different
road
item,
itself.
yes.
There is no lights on the road.
Yes, and I'll
Yeah.
have the chair respond, but I do believe we cannot respond to questions. I just
Yeah,
get that
it's two
confirmation.
totally
Yeah, but it's great that you
different
brought that to our attention. I'm a big old town supporter, so
Yeah.
I can appreciate
things.
those
You go through
guys.
there at night, and you'll know exactly what I
Yes.
mean.
But so is the beer garden sign already, my question is, did it already exist there, or is it something that you want to put there?
It is there.
Okay.
It is there. And it's the only signage we have right now of the beer garden. so people know where it's at.
Yes, and you find
It's
it,
the same entity as Helotes Country Club, it's the same property, it's just the outside area.
you were mindful towards accommodating the sign towards the character of Old Town and making sure that it wasn't
It
Sticking
matches
out.
Old Town, yeah, because
Yes.
the beer garden very much is Old Town. It's right there, now if you go up, you see it right here, and it lights up at night.
Can you roll down to the other picture?
Thank you, Ms. Tammy. You've answered my questions. I appreciate you.
Sure. So if I may, I guess the crux of the discussion here is that this is a new, essentially proposed sign for the beer garden portion of the business. It's set back a ways from the road, but is visible from the street. But the business also has, I believe, at least 3 wall signs, I think 2 facing the road and then 1 on the side of the building. And then maybe some ancillary additional small signs on the building as well. And so whether or not that sign, meets the standard grade of sign, and whether or not we need to consider that in respect to some of the other signage that's existing there already.
I have a comment. My thought is, I know that this sign is part of this particular business, but there are other businesses out there that have the same type of service or related service, and this sign would help other businesses in that area know that proximity is an area where you can get that type of service if you're looking for that. Without having to mention names, I'm sure the commission is aware that there's a winery out there, and I think there's a bar out there, and they're all kind of close in proximity. So it kind of gives the customer a little more direction of where they need to be. I just wanted to put that out there, if it's a shared business type signage, or is it just related to this particular establishment?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
looking at this overall picture, Selena, can you go to the one where it shows a full shot, which says the beer garden, and there's another 4 signs that show up on it sort of has the side of the building in it and all the other signs.
There, that one.
Can you zoom in on that? The back? I was just curious what the other signs were.
There are also Helotes Country Club sign, one is a big one that has been since my dad had it in the 70s.
The ones that are on the fence next to the beer garden?
Oh, no, that's hours of operation, no one under 21,
Okay.
that's those signs.
And what's the big one?
The one on the right, that's the rules.
Tammy, if you can please come up to, so we can all
Yeah.
hear you.
The big one is the rules, like 21 and older, definitely no children, pets are allowed, pick up after yourself, and must have ID with you, be aware of things falling from trees.
Rules and operations.
Rules of operations, that's all that sign is, and then 21 and older, and the no parking right there.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was just, I didn't want it to be the menu or something like that. That's
Oh,
what
no,
my concern
not at
was.
all, no, it's just.
Tammy, I just worry thinking about all this rain. How's that sign? You think it'll hold up pretty well, the wood and I'm afraid y'all gonna have to repair it pretty quick, but.
It's pretty sealed.
It is sealed,
Yeah, it
that's
has numerous layers of.
I mean, I love it. I think it matches and I like, it's cute and it's, old towny and I like
Yeah,
it. I
that's
just
what we're
thought,
trying to go for. But no, it is like extremely sealed.
okay, because
Like
I just
before
thought,
with
oh,
the
it
light
makes
bulbs.
it,
I know.
But it's really cute. I like it. And I
Thank
think
you.
it draws nice attention to the garden, which is definitely needed.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And it does, because people come by and they're like, we had no clue this was here. So we need something to help people know it's there. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Do y'all actually have like a bar there and actually sell the beverages out
Yes.
in the garden, or would people
Yes.
have to go in?
Y'all have functions back there. I think if you go back further, different, wait, right there. This this building right here was my dad's storage barn, and now these two lift up, and you actually walk up to the bar right there.
Follow the green path.
Yes, exactly. See, the green walkway walks right up to the beer garden bar.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question, if I may. This is really more directed, I guess, towards our staff area. I'm not sure who would want to field this question. Obviously, we're dealing with a creative sign, and I don't think that any of us, from what I've heard, indicate there's a concern about the look, the style, the size, or anything else. My question, though, in your introduction, Mr. Vice Chairman, I guess, Chairman Pro Tem, is with regard to the ordinance indicating whether or not there is a limitation on the number of signs in Old Town. Because the variance doesn't specify what we're actually giving variance to. And so that's what I was curious. The link that we have in our agenda item doesn't specify what the variances are that we need as a commission to specify what we're granting or recommending approval of.
You're granting the creative sign, because the sign does not fit into any other part of the ordinance. It's not a wall sign, it's not a monument sign, it is not anything else. And there is not a limitation to, so each business can have a creative sign, just like the Antique Depot did when they brought up the one that's on the pickup truck behind them. So it's a creative sign. So in Old Town, they are allowed to have a creative sign within their building.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that to make sure that we didn't make some recommendation one way or the other and not address the issue at hand as it goes to council. Thank you.
Correct.
Any other questions for me?
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, this is Greg, and I'm sorry it's taking me a while to get into the meeting, but I had a couple of questions. I apologize again if these have been asked already, but do I understand correctly that the beer garden sign will actually be at the location of the beer garden, which is set back from the road? I'll just ask all my questions at once. That's one. Second question, I understand it's illuminated, and that I just want to understand that the illumination will be turned off when the business is closed, in other words, overnight. And then my third question, I think it follows from what I thought Alex might have been just asking, and that is we are not setting a precedent if we were to approve this item. In other words, it is a creative sign. It's taken on the merits of its particular specifications, and it does not obligate us to thereby approve a similar sign should it come forward from another business down the road. Thanks.
Right, you want me to answer?
You can answer the first two.
Okay, yes, it is. It is off the road. It's in front of the beer garden. It's on the wall to the beer garden, and it's LED lit, and it's only when it becomes dark in the area, and we turn it off at the end of the business day.
Yeah, it's along the fence line of that. It's actually not a wall, it's a fence. And you're not setting a precedence, and only Old Town allows for creative signs. It's not allowed anywhere else within the city or the ETJ.
Okay, thank you. Is that Marion saying that last part?
Yes, it is. Sorry.
Oh, okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Is there any further questions or discussion? We open the floor to motion.
Okay, I'll do a motion to recommend approval on the request by Tammy Poynton for approval of variance to Municipal Code of Ordinances, Chapter 66 signs, authorizing the use of a custom wooden LED light bulb sign as a creative sign through Section 98-72, Old Town Helotes Special District, subparagraph 7, creative sign review for Helotes Country Club, located at 14687 Old Bandera Road, Helotes, Texas, 78023. And identified as VCAD property ID number 2934711.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. On to item number 9. Discussion of an action on a request by Southwest Texas Sign Services, Inc. for approval of signage for CVS store number 8990 located at 12980 Bandera Road, Helotes, Texas. So does staff have any further comment on this item?
No further information to add, but I am going to request when you do take recommendation action, if you can do 2 separate motions, please.
Sure.
And there is nobody here representing CVS.
My next question, thank you. So we'll take this as 2 separate motions. Is there any discussion or questions about item number A, directional amenity signage? And I guess one quick question before we begin, if there's no objections, just to the staff. So we're being asked to both, I guess, add some additional directional amenity signs and also amend the master sign plan, which was previously approved for the CVS. Now, in reviewing this item, it didn't appear as though there was significant change to the size and number of signs on the building. There was some minor changes, I guess, to the directional signage based on some of the new rebranding that was going on with the project, but I just wanted to kind of clarify that.
So regarding the directional signage, there is no minor changes. It's completely brand new signage.
Okay.
For item number 9B, in researching that item, the item was approved as a master sign plan. However, there were never any stipulations that were approved. So technically, the only thing that was approved were drawings. When this item came back to Development Services for review, administrative review, there were no stipulations that Development Services could follow.
Okay.
So yes, it was worded and approved as a master sign plan, but technically, it shouldn't have been a master sign plan, or CVS should have been required to submit stipulations, which is what we're asking for now.
So, again, back to the agenda, is there any questions or discussion on item number 8?
And Mr. Vice Chair, just to confirm or clarify from my thoughts anyway, we're replacing signs out there, we're not adding any more to the signs that already exist?
You're adding on 9A, on the directional.
Gotcha. And we're also replacing?
That is correct.
I have another question for staff, if that's okay, Mr. Vice Chair?
Yes.
Are there any other businesses in Helotes that have this many signs on it? Because there's multiple, there's multiple signs out here, whether they're directional or branding.
Want me to take that? Certainly, Walmart.
That's a lot bigger business, isn't it?
Mr. Chairman,
Can we compare apples to apples?
In this regard,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
so to address this subject, and this was something that I kind of raised my eyebrows on a little bit because of the lack of information. When the original shopping center burnt down many years ago, this entire new development was done, but it was done under the form of a development agreement. So the master sign plan never fell within the city's sign code at the time. It was part of the development agreement that the then city council put in place. That might be why you couldn't find it under a sign plan. And so it was done that way. So every time CVS, because of the way it was done, every time they want to change their signs, they have to go back to council, because it wasn't done under the normal routine and way back when, I guess it was 08 or something like that. And so that's why every time they want to make changes, they have to go through this whole process instead of just going through staff. And so the establishment of a master sign plan, I don't know whether or not that does or doesn't have anything to do with altering the original development agreement that was put in place that controls the signs, as well as the entire block that was built. I would just recommend that maybe you go back and look at the original development agreement to see if it specified it there as opposed to somewhere else. Because it was not done, it didn't come through planning and zoning at the time. Council handled that in its entirety all the way from start to finish as they developed that agreement. So I don't know what we'll find. I don't have a problem with the signage and all of this if this takes care of that, but I don't know how it's going to be affecting future adjustments to the sign, whether it does or doesn't just allow staff to just say, we can make all the changes as long as it fits the parameters. As long as it doesn't violate that agreement that was put in place when it was built. I just thought I'd throw that out for history.
Thank you for the history.
So, Commissioner Blue, as far as the development itself, is this the CVS pharmacy along with the rest of the retail center that is right next, adjacent to it, or is it just CVS itself?
The rest was a development agreement, but that was done separately. I wasn't on council at the time, so I wasn't a part of that decision, but because that was well before my time on there. But I remember that's why it kept going through council every time they wanted to make changes.
This item does specifically state that it's for the CVS at 1298 Bandera Road, and not any other buildings on the property.
Well, and looking at the directional signage, I mean, I think it's necessary for sure to clarify and direct the traffic and the people for sure. Their master, the second part of it is the amended master sign plan. Doesn't seem real clear. Let's see.
And the second part, the reason, if when it came back in 2014, if it actually had the linear feet, like this is how much linear feet could be used on the signage, it wouldn't have come back to P&Z and council. If they had said, okay, this is how much square footage could be used on the signs, and they met that, then it wouldn't have come back to P&Z and council. But when we looked at all the documentation, it's never been specified. So what happens is every time it comes back, that changes. Well, it shouldn't. What you should say is, okay, we give them 500 square feet or so forth. I'm just putting a number out there. And if as long as they stay under that amount on the master sign plan, then if they're just replacing signs and they stay within the color scheme, they stay within the placement, and they're not putting new signs, then those signs don't come back. That can be approved administratively. The problem is there's nothing for staff to be able to go back and look at because all that's ever been approved is renderings.
Okay, so to clarify, if we look at the master plan today, and the signs here are really just replacing by same size what they had before. What we need to do today, if we approve it or recommend it for approval, is to say that this is going to be the standard size.
Right, exactly, and have them come back and say this. If it's within the rendering and it's a little box on the side that says this is the color, this is the size, this is the total. Not each individual sign, but what you do is you do it a total for the whole building.
Yeah.
This is the total square feet, linear square feet of the signs.
Okay, I see.
This is probably for staff, this is probably my stupidity is, we've got one building here. How is this any different? Why are we stating this as a master sign plan instead of, like we did with the new Methodist ER, where they're supposed to be under the business guidelines of one wall sign per walkway?
Because they actually originally came to council with the master sign plan. That was something that was approved through a development agreement in 2008 when they came and developed.
But now they want to change everything.
Well, they want to replace signs. And the reason that what happened was with us, with staff, is that when you read our code, as part of the master sign plan, it needs to be able to give staff what is that total square feet. And we don't know because it changed. In 08 it was one amount, in 14 it was another amount, so we don't know. It's never been indicated in the minutes or so forth. This was what was actually approved. So what we're asking is that while they're asking for amendment, and if the square footage that they're asking for now is 450 square feet, and that is what they indicate, and we have it in writing. So if they ever come back, that we know that that's what the master sign plan square footage is.
Where are those numbers at?
So if you look in our actual memo, if you look on page 3, we actually put the size on there, and we were just telling you on Circle 8 trail frontage. This is on item 9B. That's what the grand total of those signs are.
So it's 450 square feet.
Right.
And then what is that? Not what's current square footage?
What is the?
Do we know what the current square footage is?
Yeah, I didn't take the calculation of the current, but the current is listed on the drawings. I think it's give or take about the same amount, but I couldn't tell you for sure off the top of my head.
Does that include the directional signage that's also being proposed?
Directional signage is not considered part of the master sign plan. That's for code. You got to consider that separately.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes.
So it is a little difficult to hear, but if I understood correctly from what Marianne just said, on item B, the number of signs is not changing, and it is unclear whether the square footage that is being requested is more, less, or the same as to what is existing. If I stated that correctly, I personally would find it concerning that we are allowing larger than ordinary signage in this instance where there is no parameters that have been set previously by the master sign agreement. In other words, if the existing is hypothetically 350 square feet and they're asking for 450 square feet, I don't know that we are obligated to honor that particular request if it does not conform to what we normally would allow.
So just to respond to the commissioner's, the chairman's comments, so the existing, you said the existing area was on the drawings on page, sorry, it looks like,
So on the drawings on the upper left-hand corner, the sign contractor did put each existing signage and then the approximate square footage.
Does somebody have a total of what that is? I did not notice that.
Mr. Vice Chair, I have one more thought. I know we're thinking about this, but it goes back to my previous question. Is we're placing signs, but we're also adding signs. So that even we're not?
No.
Okay.
The adding signs are directional signs, so those are not counted in the master.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's why they're two separate
Okay.
items.
So on the agenda item request form, staff has identified from the drawings that were provided the items that are required of a master sign plan. However, it's not staff's responsibility, it's the sign contractor's responsibility to tell us the total existing square footage and then the proposed items. So I wish that the sign contractor was here so that they could answer those questions, but unfortunately they're not.
Yeah, so according to my calculations from the drawings, the Circle A trail frontage with 3 wall signs is currently at 165.87 square feet, and they're going up to 190. And the Bandera Road the four-wall signs currently at 188.59 going up to 206. So it does look like both sides of the building are increasing in square footage.
Commissioner Wade, is it the same number of signs total, correct?
That is correct, yes, sir. From their attachment C, upper.
And the increase is, I didn't write it down what you just said, but it's somewhere around 10% larger or less?
At least 10%, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we want to let the same. So that does seem a not insignificant increase in area.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess we've kind of jumped ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we've kind of jumped ahead.
As far as A goes, yeah, my standing on A is that directional signage you have to have. They have to be there. You have to list how high, the clearance is. Drive through here, do not enter. That is totally understandable. As far as B goes,
Well, why don't we to kind of try to stay on track, why don't we, is there any further discussion or comments on item number A, the directional signage? If not, is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll do a motion to recommend to approve item number 9A, directional amenity signage pursuant to Municipal Code of Ordinances, Chapter 66, signs, Section 66-45, traffic control signs, paragraph B, directional amenity signs.
Is there a second?
I'll say.
Is there any further discussion? So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries for item number A. Now back to item number B, master sign plan. So I guess the concern to this moment is that the proposed signage is an increase over the existing signage, and it's a little bit of uncertainty as to the master planning, what the master plan allowed for that existing signage.
Mr. Chair, may I ask, I know somebody did the calculations. What is the exact number of increase, would you say? I mean, I know 10%, but what is that?
We're just guessing, and that's, I don't feel comfortable. I don't mean to interrupt
No,
the
not
fellow
at all.
commissioner here, but I don't think we should guess. I think this item should be tabled and followed up, unless we're working on some type of time-sensitive deadline. I mean, we should have representation from the vendor, and we should have staff input where it says, this is where we were and this is where we're heading. I think that would be very prudent. And I also clearly remember while serving on this commission, a nearby business owner stating at one point at that microphone saying, well, we built our sign before we checked with you guys because we used the CVS as a model, because we saw how big theirs was and we saw how many signs they had, so we went ahead and did it their way, and now we're here just to get your approval after the fact. I never forgot that quote, and that's something that I think we should be very mindful of. If we're going to do something like this, and we clearly heard from staff tonight, there really isn't any other business similar to this and the same size square footage that has this many signs, even though we allow this through the master plan. And that's the history, and I appreciate the history there. But I do think that we have a chance to make it right going forward, and I think with good information, we can make good, sound decisions. That's just my thoughts that I'd like to share with the commission. I don't feel comfortable supporting B with the information we have.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question about the window signs, 4 and 5. 6, where that is. Please, 4 and 5. Don't we have restrictions on window signs?
Staff administratively reviews and approves that per code.
Okay.
Yes. And then, Commissioner Rios, I was going to just comment if that is the direction or the motion that the commissioners want to go in, the correct motion would be to postpone.
Thank you. Oh, are we working with a deadline, or is it?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I also agree with Mr. Rios that I think that we should get more information from a representative and wait. I think it is a big decision, and it does set an example. And I just feel like it's not very self-explanatory. So
I guess I would also ask of staff, is it possible to do a little more research, and now that we are aware of the development agreement, that there may be some hidden agreements regarding this signage that might be worth delving into to get a better picture, you know, vis-a-vis the points just made here.
Yeah, we'll look at the 2008 and then we'll confirm that the numbers that are on the actual drawings are what's existing. I mean, that's all we can at least do is confirm with that and look at our permits.
are they in any way duplicating the CBS on 1560 and Shane and Gong?
They are.
Okay. Yeah, that was going to be my next
Yeah.
comment. There is something similar to this, the CVS and our ETJ, but they didn't do it through a master sign plan, if I recall. Commissioner Blue, do you recall? I think they got variances.
I think that's correct.
But it's in our ETJ, it's not in our
Yeah, it's
corporate.
in our
So is there any further discussion or comment? I believe there's a suggestion of a motion afoot to postpone.
Yes, sir.
So is there a full motion?
A motion to postpone item B for this, which states amended master sign plan pursuant to Municipal Code of Ordinance, Chapter 66, Signs, Section 6671, Master Sign Plan, subparagraph C, Master Sign Application. Recommend to postpone for further information from staff and a representative from the establishment, CBS, to provide information.
I'll second that motion.
And if I can just add, we're going to postpone to the August P&Z meeting.
That will work.
Is there any further discussion? So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So motion carries. So I believe that was our final agenda item. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Ray.
Close out the meeting, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman. Just state
It's
the time.
closed at, was it 7:48?
Thank you all very much.
So you guys are good.